Greetings and bienvenue, Midnight Crew. Thank you for returning to this broadcast, and welcome to new viewers joining us for the first time. If you like a video, then feel free to subscribe.
I have a weird story that I would like to tell. I still don't understand what I saw. But regardless, here it goes. When I was like 8 or 10 years old, mid-late 90s, there was an arena close to Tompkin and Dundas. I believe it was a skating rink at one point, but eventually it just became an abandoned building before they tore it down and created homes. Arena Road, Mississauga is the specific area. Anyhow, at the time I used to hang out with kids a little older than me, and we all decided we were going to sneak into the building at night and search the entire place. We arrived just after sundown. We circled the arena trying to find the best way to get in. Everything was boarded up and chained, but we finally came across a door with a broken window. However, it was a tight fit, and unfortunately I was the only one who could make it through. Scared out of my mind. I guess the adrenaline and everyone pressuring me, I went through the window only to notice that the door was locked. I was freaking out, but they calmed me down and told me that there was another door literally to the left. If I just ran around, I would be able to open it. So be it. I remember not being able to see since it was pitch black, but I managed to find the door and let the group in. It still irks me that nobody handed me a flashlight when I was inside and made me run with no light. Anyway, we started searching the entire place. I remember it being really wet and cold. It was a really weird setting, as I was expecting an actual ice rink or something. But it just didn't exist. We continued going through rooms. Not much out of the ordinary until we heard noises coming from the basement area. We all just assumed people must be doing the exact same thing we are doing, so we went down some stairs and the sound became a little weirder. Almost hissing like. But still, it's just some kids, right? That's what we told ourselves anyhow. I remember there being a lot of rooms in the basement. However, each room seemed to have been wiped clean except for things like falling wood, metal poles, etc. It just looked really off, but given that it was being torn down, none of us thought much of it. We continued to search each room, noticing now that some rooms had alcohol bottles, blankets, writings on the wall, etc. The tone completely changes for everyone because now we think that people are either living here or partying. We all agreed it was the latter. But I still remember everyone not being the same after seeing that. Mind you, as this is going on, the hissing sound is more persistent. But someone mentioned it's just the wind. We all start laughing, trying to boost the morale of everyone's emotions. After leaving the room, we all decided to check out the bathrooms. It still irked me that the bathrooms were in the basement area. But then again, I was a kid, so it probably made sense. This is the part that I still don't understand. We check out the guy's bathroom first and do a thorough search. It was huge for some reason. Lots of sinks, lots of toilets, urinals, etc. Someone turns the tap on only to notice that the water is actually running. This didn't sit well with us because we figured with how long it's been abandoned and the fact they were tearing it down, they for sure would have turned the plumbing off. That said, we decided to check out the girls' bathroom, and this is when things take a turn for the worst. We start hearing other sounds, almost like gurgling. And mind you, I want to leave now, but everyone insists on making sure we are the only ones in here. Like, I wish I could have just left, but clearly that wasn't an option. We enter the girls' bathroom. The sound is getting louder, but they insist on investigating still. When you walk into the bathroom, they have the flashlight facing the stalls, and notice that out of the 6 of them, 1 is closed. I'm telling everyone at this point to leave. However, with everyone being older than me, I guess the unknown was too curious to pass up. As we get closer, the stall starts making a noise, almost like someone is trying to open it, but most of the group passes this off as the wind. I'm scared shitless at this point, but we continue to walk closer to it. One of the guys decides to reach out and open the stall. However, the stall is locked. I'm thinking, and I hope everyone else was too, wondering why a stall would be locked in an abandoned arena. So one of the guys decides he wants to stand on the toilet and see what's in the locked stall. We, finally, all agree that this is stupid and it's finally time to leave. But nope, this guy's curiosity is getting the best of him. He hops on the toilet and literally yells that we all have to see this. He's saying that there's a hole where the toilet should be. He's literally freaking us all out, and we can't believe what he's saying, so we all end up standing in each stall next to the locked one and are amazed the guy was telling the truth. We all have our flashlights pointing towards the hole, and this is where shit goes totally south. All of a sudden, and I wish I were lying, Some humanoid-like creature starts reaching out of the hole. That's it, we all start running out of the bathroom screaming our heads off. When we make it to the hallway, we can literally hear the thing screaming and the stall shaking like crazy. I remember tripping going up the stairs, and one friend was crying while she was screaming at me to get up. We make a dash for the exit that we came in from and don't stop running until we make it home. Most of us lived in the same complex. The strange thing is I don't remember anyone ever talking about it. Not even when we went home. I thought maybe they might have talked among themselves. But no one ever brought it up in front of me. I don't really know what I saw that day. But I know it gives me goosebumps remembering it. It was an experience I'll never forget.
I got this strange happening as a child that scared me. Be 12 or so, strolling around the town's forest. There is a old World War II bunker, nothing too special in this part of Germany. Entries are closed with bars that were installed later for safety. The thing is old and might collapse. One entrance had its bars ripped away. I think it was teenagers with a scooter or something like that. Time for exploring the creepy bunker dungeon, thinks my 12-year-old self. There is barely any light inside, and mold everywhere. I have seen mold stalagmites and stalactites. The place fucks me up, worried because of the mold and the chance of the thing collapsing. Decide to leave. From behind I hear sudden snarling. It's coming from a room I didn't check because the ceiling looked fucked. I also saw a body moving. It looked almost like a goblin in retrospect. I ran for my life, nothing followed. Never been there again. As teens my friends went there once and said they heard movement and ran as well. I have no clue what that was. It wasn't too big, maybe like a midget with pale skin. I think it was pale, the lighting was shit down there. The closest thing to describe it really is a goblin. I still wonder what it was and if it's still alive. It's been 10 years since. I worry about what would have happened if I checked that room.
When I was a young child, I used to see things on the walls of my shared bedroom with my older brother. I can't remember how old I was exactly when this happened. Now, the room wasn't anything that special, 2 beds, one for each of us, as well as a ledge large enough for both of us to sit on now under the windows. It was painted white and green and had a strip of wallpaper around it with African animals on it. We had some star stickers stuck on the ceiling as well. Now, none of that is really important, but I just wanted to paint the scene for this one instance that has been creeping me out lately. See, most of the time, the monsters would only show up once, and I'd never see them again. They'd be by the door or crawl out from behind the various pictures hung in the room, but one of them kept coming back. He was, as I remember him, a little goblin thing that looked a bit like Gollum now that I think about it, but he also looked like a tiny withered old man, with skin like a dried corpse. He would crawl along my walls, usually above my bed or in the edges of the little place where the ledge and the window used to sit. I think he even looked at me a few times. Scared the shit out of poor little Anon. Eventually, I mostly forgot about and went about my life, until I moved back to my old childhood home. Anyways, the reason this little goblin has been creeping me out lately is because me and my brother were talking a little bit back about the paranormal and the strange. He mentioned he used to see a little old man, looking almost exactly as I remembered, crawling on our walls, appearing from behind this big board we used to have and groaning. Said board was right above my bed. A little while after that I started to experience other weird shit around this house, like seeing something rush down the stairs and vanish, accompanied by a brief smell of burning wood, or a set of eyes looking down at me from the stairs.
Since I can recall, my dad has been telling us a story about an encounter he had with a goblin or gremlin back in the early 80s. Dad returns from work around 2 a.m. Goes outside the house to smoke a cig before going to bed. He sits on a lawn chair, lights his cigar and starts smoking. Hears something at the end of the backyard. He gets up, grabs a broom and walks towards it, just in case it's a stray cat or a rat rummaging through the garbage cans. As he walks closer, he realizes it's no cat or rodent. Dad describes it as something looking like pick-related sans hair. A 3 or 4 feet tall, emaciated thing resembling a hairless monkey, with long, curved claws and a wide mouth filled with sharp teeth. This thing stares back at him, its eyes are bulging, round and almost lemur-like. Dad and the thing stare at each other for a while, until my dad realizes this thing isn't a normal animal and it might be something else. Dad runs like hell, getting inside the house and locking the door behind him. When he takes a peek at the backyard, the monster or animal is completely gone. I'm not saying it was the rake, since it was too small, with the rake being described as something as tall as an adult man, but the sheer description of it as a hairless, clawed, grinning, ape-like thing must have a connection with whatever the hell my old man saw almost 30 years ago.
New to X, figured you would all appreciate this experience I had as a kid. Be 3 years old. Family moves to grandparents' house in Dallas, Fort Worth area, Texas, because dad lost a job and needs time to get back on feet. Love grandma's house, but haven't ever spent more than about a week or two at a time there. Excited because I get to sleep in my own room for the first time. We were dirt poor since my grandma's house is huge and my infant brother is sick all the time and wakes everyone up at night. And mom feels bad. I get the room above the garage. A cool room. Can see the lizards that live in great numbers on my grandma's porch from that angle. Grandma's house was the only one on the block that had any lizards, let alone hundreds, and we would often find dead frogs in the pool or in the road out front. Look out and see the lizards, and quickly drift off to sleep, knowing that it's going to be a fun time at grandma's. Wake up in the middle of the night because I hear a little pitter-patter sound. Sit up quickly and, noticing the shadows cast on the wall, look towards the nightlight, one of those ones that projects a cute image of a night sky complete with happy stars and planets. See a teeny, wrinkly purple goblin in nothing but tattered rags with huge yellow-white eyes like light bulbs dancing around my nightlight. Sort of tap dancing and shimmying his arms. Cool.jpg. Hello there, I say. Fucker stops dancing and slowly turns to look at me. Shiny eyes. Get up to dance with him.
No, stay in bed.
He quickly says. His voice is very high-pitched, but assertive. Stay in bed, but still facing him. What is your name? I say to him.
Obeskin.
Pronounced Obeskin. That's just how my 3-year-old self spelled it out. Obeskin, I say back.
Yes, what is your name?
Anon, I was a dumb kid. He laughs and starts clapping and jumping, which would terrify anyone with any real-world experience, but it made me laugh and clap back at him. Because I am a kid. He stops clapping and goes quiet, and we just look at each other for a bit. I was amused or entranced by the whole thing.
I have a question for you, Anon.
He said suddenly, breaking the silence. The game's afoot.exe. What question?
Where, on a camel, is its meat?
WTF. Confused. Start thinking about camels and what they are and what stands out about them. In the humps. He laughs a little bit at that.
No, silly Anon. That would be the water. The meat is in the legs. The big, meaty hind legs that hold the humps up.
The fucker laughs like he's the comedian of the century, and I join him. Because I'm a kid. We stop laughing and he asks,
Do you know Linje?
Mom's name, changed for obvious reasons. Yeah, she is my mom. She's asleep. Point in direction of mom's room.
I used to watch your mummy.
With a laugh like a trill at the end. Mom grew up here. All of the sudden, the wind blows the curtains on my window open. Which was weird because they A. should have already been open and B. the window itself was closed. Obeskin looks at it and his facial expression changes from giddy, amused to worried, concerned. He starts talking in Dr. Seuss language. That's the best way to describe it, about how he has to leave now and he wishes he could stay and talk about the world. All rhyming and in some meter. Probably can't remember shit because the trance I enter is indescribable as I watch him. He steps backwards up the windowsill. Eye contact remains and he keeps talking. His glowing eyes feel warm and calming. Ever seen 2 water droplets touch? That's what it looked like when his back foot touched the window. Like water joining up with itself. He kept moving backwards, getting fainter in voice and merging more with the window. Soon, only his glowing eyes were left and it was silent. And the wind stopped. I stared into the afterimages of his eyes for only a few seconds as it went from pitch dark night to early morning in the space of that time. Hit by a wave of tired. Mom walks in. Breakfast time, MP3. And tired mom. Tell her about Obeskin. And how he's like my Monsters Inc. monster. I was obsessed with that movie at the time. Leave out the parts about him watching her. I feel like he entrusted me with that info and it would be a breach of trust to disclose it. We write it off as nothing more than a vivid dream for a kid with an overactive imagination. And I go down to eat. Fast forward 8 years. Amy, the oldest of now 5 kids, visiting Grandma's house for our yearly summer trip. Haven't thought about Obeskin for at least 5 years at this point. Around the table for family breakfast, something is missing. We all realize that my sister Bailey, 3 years old, is not here, presumably still in bed. Normally, she would wake up with my other sister, 5 years old, who usually shares a room with her. But older sister was having bad nightmares. She slept with my parents that night. Mom goes up to wake Bailey, comes out of the room, pale as a drywall dust. We all stare in silence.
Is Bailey okay?
She's fine, but she's too tired to come down because she was up all night playing with the dancing man.
As Mom says this, she makes direct eye contact with me from the top of the stairs. Holy fuck. I probably go pale, too. It all floods back to me. The rest of the day is very strange, and I avoid that bedroom for the rest of the trip. Some details about the story that don't fit as well into narrative form. I found out through asking my grandma that the room in question belonged to my mom's sister, and that my mom and her used to share the room until they started hating each other. As she put it, she and my mom have always had a tenuous relationship, to say the least. Found out in a later and more awkward conversation with my mom that said her sister had abused her pretty severely and ongoing in that room, and that's why they stopped sharing rooms. Obeskin was beginning to seem less benign at this point. Since the events, my grandparents moved away to Utah, and for a brief period, and due to some interesting happenstance, we came to live with them again. My best friend's mom, who I'll call Shaylee, is kind of a psychic wacko, and one time she was over at our house there and she seemed tense talking to my grandparents. When they left the room, she took me aside and told me,
"Something is attached to the back of your grandpa's neck. It's eating his energy."
When she said this, I shit a brick and told her the whole story. She told me the creature was attached to my grandpa and gave me a piece of smooth wood to burn to exorcise it from him. I never did. Also, I talked to my sister about her experience, and she told me that the wind woke her up in the middle of the night and she looked over and saw him dancing. She started dancing too, and it was like the little guy couldn't stop as long as she was. He was laughing and dance copying, imitating her moves. But he never spoke to her. Eventually, she got tired and passed out on the floor, where my mom found her, me, living with grandparents, about 1.5 years ago. Not too long after the conversation with Shaylee, watching a TV show with Dad in the basement, hear banging upstairs. My dad pauses the show.
Go check it out, anon.
I walked up the stairs. Could see no lights were on up there. Bang bang. I walk more of the way up until I can see through the banister into the rest of the house. Out of the kitchen comes my grandpa in his pajamas. This grandmotherfucker is on a Razor scooter. He's riding a Razor scooter. It's 2 a.m. He sort of tries and fails to do a trick or something. Then makes eye contact with me. Freezes. Dismounts. Stares at me for like 10 frames. Throws the scooter down violently. Stomps towards his bedroom. I making contact as long as possible. Slams the door shut. End scene. I go downstairs and tell Dad to unpause the show.
What was it?
Just Grandpa.
Huh.
Since then, we've moved out of my grandparents' house, but we stayed close because both of them are always incredibly sick with something, and no matter the treatment, it seems like something else always crops up. They feel better with us around for this reason. I know that's sort of what you should expect in your 70s. But another tidbit of info that I gleaned from my mom is that my grandpa used to be a super happy and social person, and he was kind and wonderful to everyone until he was about 30. He was diagnosed with some disease, and it meant that he couldn't eat a lot of the foods he loved, play any sports, go camping, or really do much of anything that brought him happiness. After that, he was always grumpy and a little scary. Shaylee sometimes asks me about Obeskin, and she tells me that I shouldn't say its name because it gives it power. But some part of me feels safe from him. Can't say the same for my grandpa. I know that the memories from the initial encounter seem very vivid from memories from so young. And that's because they are. They are seared into my mind like a movie I can play anywhere. I will try to answer questions or clarify things tomorrow. But I have to sleep because it's almost 5 a.m. where I am.
Saw what I can only describe as a goblin on New Year's Day 2011. Around 2 a.m. Walking back to my place with a friend, on our way back from a small New Year's Eve get-together. Didn't drink or anything, just hung out. Completely sober. About a block from my house. Not too far ahead of us, a small humanoid, translucent thing darts from a yard on our side of the road and runs into the bushes across the street. We both see it, both instantaneously react and bolt. I'm a fat fuck, I don't run. This thing had me running top speed. Back at my house we're still freaking out. Confirm with each other that we saw it. He heads home. I go to bed. Over the next few nights, I keep catching glimpses of this white thing around my house. A white shape looking in through my kitchen window that quickly walks off into the darkness of my yard when I noticed it. See something white walk into my neighbor's driveway and into the shadows. The lighting in this area was pretty shit. One single street light to light the corner. Getting some fresh air. Head out my bedroom window. Notice movement on the other side of my hedges. Too obscured by the hedges to really make out what it was, but I made a noise when I noticed it, thinking it was a hobo. Common around there because of how dark it was. It briskly walks away. I see the shape move through the hedges. It's white, small, and on two legs. Head out my window again. Catch very fast glimpse of my cat chasing something small and white around the corner or the hedges that divide my property from our neighbors. Never see the goblin again after that. Cat is fine, he's still with me today.
I hope that you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. If you enjoyed tonight's story, then please subscribe to the channel, as more green texts will appear daily. A new broadcast will appear when the clock strikes midnight Central Time.
Remember to check out the Odyssey page in the description for a second archive of the channel's videos.